Trump bankrolled politicians to steamroll the little guy. A pattern of sleaze stretching back decades. Worse, Trump still supports eminent domain today.
Do you support taking private property for private use?
I am for that.
While it may seem as if we've been deep in the political mudslinging for months now, in all honesty, we've only just begun. South Carolina will ratchet up the slam and sleaze factor like nothing we've witnessed yet. And Texas Senator Ted Cruz is not fearful one bit of seeking to expose his top challenger as a man with moral feet of clay. Of course, let's bring it all back to the telltale here. Will it really make any difference before South Carolina starts making its choices? Let's begin with the Friday political animal right there, rising from the muck and mire to deliver the desperately needed common sense, if you will. First up, Georgetown University professor and veteran Republican strategist Bradley Blakeman. And we're joined by the former managing editor at the Daily Caller and currently political editor for the Washington Examiner, W. James Antle III. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. And Brad, let's go ahead and begin with you. Look, Ted Cruz taking a full-blown shot at sleaze here, and then he's coming out with some humorous ads as well. Look, it would seem as if he's doing the right thing. Here's the question. Will the voters understand eminent domain, which a lot of Republicans want to sit on, and will that be something that can turn the tide against Donald Trump?
No, they won't. I think that it's not the issue that's burning on people's mind. I think the people want to hear about the economy and want to hear about debt, want to hear about national security, paramount. Ted tends to be a lawyer and tends to be professorial, just like our current president, lecturing to people on issues they really don't care about or understand. I do agree with Ted. This is a game of king of the hill, and if you want to get to the top, you got to knock off the king. And I think giving Trump the passes that he's had has given him the gift to be able to win with a minority.
Jim, there's the point right there, giving him the passes. That's something that apparently Ted Cruz has decided he's not going to do anymore, but let's focus on this ad. When he says pattern of sleaze, isn't it more important to get that word out there? That's what the public's going to remember, not eminent domain. They'll remember that, and the really key lines that the marketing experts will tell you that resonate with the voters. Get that out there, and you've won.
Well, I think what you have to do is not have an abstract philosophical debate about eminent domain. What you have to do is something similar to what people successfully did to Mitt Romney, is you identify people who are sympathetic, who can argue that their lives are adversely impacted by things Donald Trump did in his business career, whether it was through eminent domain takings or whether it was through other things, and get that out there and undermine the core appeal that he has as a hero and champion of the working class. It may be too late at this point to challenge the image that Trump has cultivated for himself as this guy who's willing to stand against his own class of very wealthy people and make America great again for blue-collar workers and working class people. But I think that's really your best shot. I think you have to undermine the favorable impression that a lot of his voters have, and particularly a lot of the people who may be leaning toward him at this point have, but are not completely sold on him. I think getting into an ideological debate, I think Ted Cruz has a lot of the more ideologically minded conservatives already. It's getting these swing voters who look at Trump as a champion and to get them to not think of that in those terms as much anymore. I think that's really what you have to do if this is going to have any effect.
Briefly, if we can here, Jim, one more thing on a spot here from Ted Cruz. He had one out called Conservatives Anonymous, which actually featured a young lady named Amy Lindsay, who is a former softcore porn actress, and it has lit up, just absolutely lit up social media today. My page is even filled with the people talking about it. Isn't it fair to say that this is just more giggles and grins than anything else? This is not a big deal, right?
I don't think it's a big deal, but I do think it indicates what a tight spot Ted Cruz is in, that he really can't afford to lose even the small subset of social conservatives who might be offended by something like this. He's really got to keep as much of his base and as many of the evangelicals together as he can if he's going to beat Trump in South Carolina.
You got to check the back of that sheet. Whenever you get the contact sheet with the photo on it of the actor, you got to look what's on the back just in case. All right, Brad, here's for you. Another ad, if you will, but different. Club for Growth Action is taking aim dead on Donald Trump. $1.5 million ad buy in South Carolina going after his conservative credentials. Here's a piece.
There's nothing conservative about abusing eminent domain for personal gain. There's nothing conservative about 4 bankruptcies. There's nothing conservative about giving money to the Clintons. There's nothing conservative about Donald Trump.
Brad, we've heard this before. Will this be effective this time around in South Carolina? Make any difference?
Yeah, as long as it's echoed by the candidates themselves.
There you go.
You can't hire third parties to do your dirty work. You must take him down yourself if you're to be successful. And relying on others isn't going to take down Donald Trump. Going mano to mano against Donald Trump on his record, whether it's Planned Parenthood, there are a whole host of issues, eminent domain, of course, being one where the rules are for him when they're for him, and for us when it's for us. It's two different sets of rules in Trump land. That's what you need to do. The candidates can only do it.
20 seconds to both of you, Brad. I stay with you. A new survey from YouGov finds that millennials have more favorable views of socialism than of capitalism. What are we to take from this?
You got to take it that these kids are selfish and they're spoiled. Look, these kids have not faced any of the type of challenges that my father faced or my grandfather faced. I haven't even faced the challenges that tested others, but I'm appreciative of it. These kids aren't, and it's an entitlement society. It's a dependent society, and as long as we stay on this track, God help our country.
43% of Americans under 30 have favorable view of socialism. Yikes. Jim Antle, Bradley Blakeman, we always appreciate your time. Gentlemen, take care. When is $19 billion not enough to fight a certain group of people who hate America? $19 billion. We're going to tell you about it when we come back right here on The Hardline.